quick introduction of myself again. I am Japanese woman, 34 years old, living in Europe for the last 7-8 years. And I have a 9-to-5 job of a senior data scientist. And the last 3.5 years, I was doing Nomad. And I lived in 37 cities during this 3.5 years, basically moving cities to cities with my suitcase by myself. Yeah, so that's a quick introduction. And today I wanted to, so last video I talked about why I recommend to do nomad life for certain people like me who are indecisive and curious and a little bit maximizer versus optimizer type of personality. This video I would like to go back a little bit, so and talk about the reason why I moved from Japan to Europe. So there were several reasons, but I will focus on one thing. So just a general background of Japan. So culturally, Japan is collectivism, meaning it's not individualistic. So people take care of each other, others' problems are my problems sort of mentality. But at the same time, if someone is doing something, they will tell you to stop it. Or if someone is very different from the majority, then we tend to make a comment and say that they are weird, they should stop, that sort of thing. Okay, and ethnically 97% of the population is Japanese, meaning our blood is in 100% Japanese for 97% of the population. We speak Japanese, and background of everyone is more or less the same. So it's quite monotonic, and historically it was also a very closed country. Japan was closing our border, so no major trade and exchange with outside of the country for more than 200 years. So that makes kind of Japan very unique and interesting. I love Japan, and I'm so grateful to born in there and learn such a unique culture, right? And I'm currently also drinking matcha, which makes me feel grounded. Yeah, so I'm grateful and love the culture. But one thing is that there is a expectation to follow certain rules. So there are a lot of societal rules that you are better to follow. You can break it, of course, you don't need to follow it, but someone will tell you to get back on the track. And so this can be any detailed rule, from not I don't know, not to do certain things in the public, or that sort of things, to bigger picture of rules. And I'm not really good at following the rules, to be honest. This has pros and cons. By creating the rule, we can integrate the country so much better. And if people are following it, the country is generally well organized. So Japan is well known for very, very clean, and in terms of it's a very clean and organized predictable. Let's say, you know, in the metro there are a lot of people, but people lined up. You know, people just don't try to go into very busy train all together, but the people are lining up, right? And so these things makes society very organized, and then that's very important. But I am not really good at following the rules, so yeah. And for example, also, it's not only in Japan, but there are certain expectation, certain definition of successful. For example, generally going to a good school and enter a very good university, that decides a lot of things in, you know, in our life trajectory in Japan. A lot of pressure, and then therefore go to, I mean, work in a big corporate, and then earn good money, buy apartment, house, have a family, and that is kind of considered to be traditional successful. And if we try to follow other paths, people will freak out. Yeah, like your parents will definitely freak out and stop you 100%. Of course, not every single family, but usually that's what happens. Because in Japan, changing your trajectory like that is considered to be a risk, and your parents don't take you to, you know, don't want you to take a risk, basically. And then we will have a reputation of a family like that, right? Oh, your daughter went like this crazy path, and, you know, my parents have to carry that, you know, they will be judged by that. So that sort of things. Okay, and then I am naturally, well, if we have to divide like creativity and logic side, I have two sides, and creativity side is more like my shadow. I definitely have that, but my logical side is more of my nature, more like dominant part. So I'm naturally likes to think about strategy and follow that, and ignore kind of like feeling part. So although I didn't enjoy this I didn't like this linear path, I was able to, with my effort, follow this traditional path until I was 25. But I knew that it wasn't the best environment for me to shine. And okay, so maybe I would give you example of what is linear and non-linear. For example, there are currently a lot of financial advice, and I saw one guy was saying something so representative of linear like thinking. So he was saying, okay, McDonald's can produce the same menu anywhere with anyone thanks to this recipe that they have. So as long as people follow this recipe rules, they can generate the same menu. And he was saying he would like to provide that recipe for financial success, which is a brilliant idea in itself, but the danger of it is that kills the creativity. There is many other ways to reach a financial success, and of course this recipe is more secured. I guess this was already proven by him that it's a like working method, and you know, as long as we follow, maybe we reach that. But it's like, okay, in order to be happy, I need this amount of money, and in order to earn this money, I need to do these things that I don't necessarily enjoy. it's like reverse engineer, which is in itself good to reach a goal. And I guess there are, of course, more success rate, but there is also a non-linear way to well, like become happy. Okay, so the example of non-linear path. There was a restaurant, canteen in Paris that I really liked, in the center of Paris. And okay, if we want to become a successful like restaurant owner in Paris, there are like certain things we will think about. Okay, as a chef, I mean, before to become a chef, I need to go to maybe a school and train in a restaurant for several years and then get to have my own restaurants and then voila. But sometimes, you know, these things are also not desirable environment. It can be you know, military-like environment. And this chef that I'm talking, so the restaurant of the chef, didn't follow the traditional path at all. So she knew that she didn't like this environment, which can be a little bit like military for the, you know, chef in the kitchen. So at that time, she wasn't doing particularly, she wasn't doing anything basically. And one of her friend who was artist, invited her to atelier. So atelier is a space where artists create art, and she got hooked by it. She got inspired by this environment, and where artists are creating, you know, following their creativity and creating their own art in this environment. And she wanted to create the same environment for the kitchen. So she creates kind of like in her room, creates kind of like atelier, like in a big table and that sort of things. Start to collect scrappy vegetables from the market, which were meant to be thrown away because they were either damaged or the shape was weird. And so they get these vegetables for free and then start to think about how she can, you know, make it more representable and delicious. And for her, it was much more enjoyable to think about like that, you know, to make these crappy vegetables more delicious and representable than trying to create a perfect dish using perfect materials and become this like top chef in the top restaurants and hotel. So she pursued that, and finally she had this in a very successful canteen restaurant. And you know, the space was exactly also like atelier, you know, very artistic. And yeah, I felt that playfulness in the dishes as well. So yeah, this is non-linear path, like a really good example of non-linear path. So maybe she is earning less than these top chefs, but she definitely enjoyed this journey, right? So the process, and that is all about life, right? So yeah, so these were two examples. And then for me, as a person who is naturally tend to rely on my logical part, and yeah, I wanted to tap into this non-linear path because I knew that I was craving for it. But in Japan, it was so difficult to think like that because basically we are punished by not following linear paths. And yeah, so I needed to change the environment, and that was one of the reasons why I moved to Europe from Japan. Well, I think that's it for this video.